Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of Tech Tuesday. My name is Dr. Haifa Maamar. I'm the Director of Emerging Technologies here at Full Sail University. And today we're streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. It's June, and actually we decided the summer is here. What about talking about fitness and fitness technology? So today's episode is going to be about the future of fitness, how we're going to explore the impact of technology on health and wellness. And my guest today is actually, now as we're discovering that we know so many people in common, like we have common friends, and he is the Vice President of Application Development and Product at Echelon Fitness. Welcome, Austin.
Great to be here.
How are you doing?
Doing great.
Thank you for being with us today. So, as I said, we're going to be talking about fitness technology, with all these new emerging technologies, and WWDC yesterday.
Had a great day yesterday.
Exactly. So, knowing of all these new different products, different technology, different devices, connected devices, and so on, of course, all of this will impact fitness specifically, because there are so many different ways how these devices can be used in fitness.
Right.
So we're going to go into some of the trends that are in the fitness technology, how we can use these new products and this new emerging technologies that are popping up and evolving on a daily basis, and talk also about Echelon Fitness and the partnership that exists with Full Sail University. So before we go into all of that, Austin, how about you introduce yourself to our audience, and then talk about your current role also as VP of VP of Application Development and Product.
Sure. So my name's Austin Musice. I'm the Vice President of Application Development and Product at Echelon Fitness. I've been building apps basically since day one. Downloaded the Apple SDK right after WWDC. Started a company, and then here we are quite some time later, a couple hundred apps later.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're really into mobile development. That's your
Yes.
work. You've been always into that.
Yes. And so at Echelon, I focus primarily with both our UI UX teams, as well as our Android and iOS teams, on bringing our workout and our content to users around the globe.
Perfect. So, you guys are going to hear me talk about fitness technology, and I'm going to use this word so much today. So I thought of maybe we can start first by explaining what fitness technology is, and then from there talk about Echelon and so on.
Sure. So fitness technology allows us to capture a holistic view of a person's health. Whether that's through connected fitness equipment, smart devices in your home like smart scales, smart blood pressure machines, as well as your wearables, your watches that are tracking how well you sleep, what your resting heart rate is, your recovery, and your workouts throughout the day.
Yeah, so you have all these wearable devices talking to each other, but talking also to the fitness
to the apps as well.
The equipment as well, and then putting, I guess, all of that together into one platform,
one holistic view. Yeah.
Yes.
I like using that because depending on what kind of at what level someone who's working out is at currently, they may use tools that are a little more advanced than something that a beginner is using. And so we try to integrate with the broader ecosystem. So no matter what you're doing on our equipment, if you want to pair it with your outdoor runs that you're tracking on Strava, or if you're looking at, I just want to everything in Apple Health, or whatever it might be. So however you want to build the picture of yourself, we want to make sure that we incorporate that into our platform.
So, I know that this is something that I'm not going to say recently becoming a trend, but all of us now, I work out personally, and then we're all connected to our phones or our tablet, wherever you have that holistic view of your data,
Right.
understanding what you're doing. It's kind of like, for me, it's like an achievement. Okay, I did so much today. I walked so much today. This is how much time I dedicated to working out. But also it helps me understand, also looking at other data, like as you said, my heartbeat, my blood pressure, how many hours of sleep I have. It's kind of like also helps me set goals for the future of
Right.
like, where do I want to be? And then I guess then use all that data where like I'm always like kind of like
Right.
an addict to my phone, looking at all of
Right.
it right now.
You know, if
to
you're-
understand, like I'm even looking at my diet also, like
Right.
of how much I'm eating and so on.
Correct. So if you're well rested and you ate well that day and you can do a big workout, we want to make sure that we have the tools to both let you know that you can do that.
Okay.
And then also make sure that we're pushing you to do those when you can, because we want you to be the best version of you too.
Amazing. And we're going to be talking also how these or this view, how these plans also help you for future, like
Right.
for the future kind of prediction of things. So let's go back to Echelon. And I mean, I want you, people may not be necessarily familiar with what Echelon Fitness or what you guys do.
Right.
So I want us to go over some of the things that you guys, or some of the products that you guys are developing, and explain what is it exactly that you're focusing on.
Sure. So we develop products that are connected pieces of fitness equipment for both commercial and residential facilities. So
Okay.
we want to make sure that a user who is, just beginning to work out, we have a piece of equipment that fits your budget, can kind of get you hooked into working out all the time. And then for more serious people, we want to make sure that if you're doing long endurance runs and those types of things, that we have equipment for you as well. And then if you're working in a confined space, we have treadmills that fold and can collapse and go under beds and different pieces of, furniture, closets, whatever it might be. And then we also deliver, a very high-end world-class experience on, both from our content standpoint, but also the data that we're tracking while you're working out, and making sure that we give you all the things that you need at your fingertips.
Perfect. So now, as we're like actually talking, I see that we're posting some of the pictures about the equipment. So we saw the different bikes there. We saw a treadmill. We saw the Reflect.
Yeah, the
on
Reflect.
wall.
We'll be talking
Yeah.
about that quite a bit today.
On the wall, yes. So you guys, okay, so you have all these different fitness equipment that, as you said, for residential or like I guess in the gym.
Yeah. Commercial
The
gyms.
commercial gyms. And then from there, then you're connecting, like you have different fitness technology solutions
Right.
that you're using there.
So, one of the things that we think is really cool about what we do is a user at home can have a bike or a Reflect.
Yes.
And then they can go into a gym and log in just like they would at home, work out on a, nice treadmill that's, very soft, and all of that data is brought back into their profile, and it's,
Perfect. Okay.
just as if they owned it themselves at
So
home.
you also support other, how to say it, wearable devices as well, like not necessarily your own wearable devices.
Yeah, so both, we support everything, for as like heart rate monitors go, anything that does Bluetooth Low Energy, HR, all of that interacts with our equipment, all of the headphones, all of those fun types things.
Okay.
And then we also have our own heart rate monitors as well that sync. It'll show you your heart rate zone, that you can, wear across your chest, however you want to. So depending on how serious you want to get, we want to make sure that we support all of those options.
Amazing. So in 2022, actually, we celebrated the ribbon cutting for the Full Sail University Fitness Technology Lab powered by Echelon Fitness. I kind of like want to give my version of like how this started. Actually, we started the conversations with Echelon Fitness back in 2019, before the pandemic. I remember when I was meeting with your CTO, John Santo, and we were talking about collaboration between Full Sail University and Echelon Fitness, because you have your development headquarter here,
Right.
And then back then we were still trying to figure out ways how we can collaborate together. But then the pandemic happened.
Right.
And I feel like it kind of accelerated like the process, because people were not going to the gym anymore.
Right.
Fitness technology is now really on the rise.
Right.
And people are getting into more having fitness equipment at home. It's
Right.
like now we're going into the at-home fitness. So that's, I feel how also for Echelon, it kind of started a whole new beginning
Right.
for you guys.
And we've also, our approach as a company and the way that we think about our software and our products is we want to make everything approachable for anyone of any skill level.
Perfect. Uh-huh.
So, sometimes gyms can be big and scary.
Oh, trust me.
So-
I went back to the gym after like a couple of months yesterday, and it was intimidating for me.
Right.
Yes.
So we're trying to bring it into the comfort of your home and design things smartly so it works in any space. And so, especially with our partnership with Full Sail, students can actually go in, touch, play with this equipment, see how it works in real life, and then also as we're working on our projects together, they can go and test and debug on it as well.
That's amazing. So so part of that partnership, actually, what happened is we started during the pandemic, and then we came up with a list of projects
Right.
that are either low-hanging fruits of things, features that maybe your development team does not have time to develop, or maybe
Right.
you need a prototype to see how things work, and so you don't want to dedicate time for that. But also some brainstorming
Right.
as well. Can you tell us more about like the whole concept and how it worked? Because I know you specifically worked with our students in the emerging tech
Yeah,
field. Yes.
we're on our fourth or fifth capstone class at this point, and so we do a few different things. We've had projects where we're prototyping. How might this work? What could it look like? What is the experience going to be? And then we're also working on shipping actual new whole features to our users that are, built front to back by Full Sail students.
Yeah. So it's an amazing thing you said. It's like these features are built by
Yes.
Full Sail students. So Full Sail students get credits on like not only so. I want to go into the benefits of something like this,
Right.
like for you and for us. Like
Right.
so, if you want to.
Yeah, so it allows us to augment our team, which is a huge thing for us. We have, fitness technology is moving so fast that we have to prioritize and quickly adapt to what's happening in the markets. And so having our capstone students allows us to give portions of that to them and allows them to get real world experience. So
Yeah.
they're actually using our design tools like Figma and Zeppelin to implement our actual designs. And then they're also using, our internal APIs, our internal documentation.
Which is amazing because,
Right.
like, of course, these are not existing out there. This is not something that
Right.
we're going to be teaching. It's
Right.
them getting used and learning your
Right.
own API and systems.
Right. And so, how to problem solve through that, how to ask questions, how to request changes that may need to be made in order to accomplish their task. And then also they're working through the sprint process as well.
Yeah.
So, the first time a student puts up a, code review, puts up a PR can be a little nerve-wracking. And so they're already going through that experience and they're going through it multiple times. So whenever they, hit the job market, they know the lingo, they know the processes, and the first day, second day, whenever they start putting in their code, they've already been there.
They already know.
They already know
like
what to
that, have
expect.
experience.
Right.
That's amazing. But also, I think also from our perspective, as you said, for the students, they're learning all the industry lingo, as you said,
Right.
industry expectations.
Correct.
But it opened doors for them as well because, like, having that experience on their resume helps them later
Absolutely.
on, like, get other jobs probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of them put it on their resume. I usually give a cursory resume review sometimes at the end of
That's
it
amazing, yeah.
for tips and tricks. And then we've actually hired students straight out of capstone.
I know that. That's amazing. And thank you for that, because
Yeah.
like we know, like for you it's good because this,
Right.
like you don't have to train these people. For us
Right.
it's good. Then like you're
They've already got a couple months of training under the belt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Okay, so let's go back to fitness technology, and I want to talk about how do fitness technology innovations cater to different fitness levels and goals, from the beginners to advanced levels.
So a lot of this comes back to how we're capturing data and how we make ourselves approachable.
Okay.
We want to make sure that when someone joins our platform the first time, we try to get an idea of what their fitness level is. And from there, we want to start catering to where they are in this process. So if they're a beginner, we want to recommend certain types of classes at certain levels, at certain intensities, in order for them to build up their overall, whether it's cardio or strength, whatever it might be, in order to achieve whatever goal that they've set for themselves. And so a lot of it comes from coaching that we can now do through software, whether it's AI, ML, whatever it might be, to where it's not so big and scary if you're a beginner, but if you're a seasoned cyclist and you just wanted a stationary bike for at home during the winter time, we have everything that you love and expect from your outdoor experience inside as well.
That's amazing. And you're talking about AI, ML, connecting data. So that's obviously we're talking about the connected fitness devices.
Right.
So you're using different equipment, and we know right now that these fitness equipment are on the rise. So I want to talk about how these smart devices enhance the workout of
Right.
individuals. How do they track performance data, and how do they integrate with other fitness applications?
Right. So what we do from our perspective is we're capturing second by second data. We want to know exactly where you are at any point in time, how hard you're pedaling, how much, what your industry standard output is, as well as looking at, how can we make sure that this fits into your overall fitness picture, right? So if you're someone who likes to cycle outdoors, what can we do to get all that data together? And that's where some of these other platforms come in. And so we share data between them. So Strava, for example, if you're an outdoor runner or a cycler, we want to make sure that, whatever metrics that we're gathering on the inside can also match what's on the outside. So when you look and you see how many miles did I run this week, it's seamless. It doesn't, all of that data goes together.
That's amazing. So talking about the devices and so on, I mean, like we watched yesterday WWDC,
Yep.
and seeing, I mean, like I was really like waiting for that headset to
Yeah,
come
I
out.
know.
I mean, like I was impressed by the smartwatch. Let's
Yep.
start with the smartwatch for me.
Yeah.
The smartwatch, like, I mean, I heard about all the features before, but like also yesterday, like it was.
Yeah, so Apple's doing something that we're all trying to do. There's a lot of metrics and data that elite athletes have been using for a long time. And up until a few years ago, the average user would have to go to a lab to have some of these metrics calculated for them. And between companies like Echelon and wearable companies like Apple, which, they're not technically a wearable company, it was a hobby, but
Yes, they're becoming.
it's quite a significant amount of revenue.
Yes, it is.
They're starting to bring those metrics to the average user, and they may not understand what your functional threshold power is, but Apple's starting to coach these people into these metrics. And having access to that data that they used to not have before, and then also understanding why it's important and how to improve it, the same way an elite athlete does, allows us to get better results faster for those people.
Yeah. I will talk about the headset later on once we talk about the VR AR stuff. But I wanted to, so, one thing that, before I go into privacy, I'm just going to ask another question about some of the latest advancements that we see right now in wearable fitness technology. How do these devices help individuals track and monitor their fitness progress?
So, fitness progress overall, we're looking at, how high is your heart rate when you're doing a certain amount of work? How much work are you actually doing while you're working out? And how much strength are you using while you're doing that?
Yeah.
So are you able to achieve the same output at a higher RPM and a higher resistance, than you were a year ago? Like, where are you at, and how can we trend that and help coach you to be a better performer? And especially looking back at like your past data. You may have taken this ride a year ago, and seeing where you were then, how fast you were pedaling then, was your resistance level higher then or lower, and how far you've came in that process.
Amazing. So when we're talking about collecting data, I know many people will think about privacy.
Right.
Privacy concerns is that what are we doing with this data? How private it is? How much are you keeping this data secure? So I'm not going to talk about Echelon specifically. If you have an answer for Echelon, please go ahead and share it. But usually, how do companies in fitness technology handle these types of things?
So this is some of the most personal and secure data. Well, it's some of the most personal data you have, and it should be every company's priority to make sure that it's as secure as it can be. Same with Echelon. We try to keep all of our data tucked away as secure as possible. Limited number of people have access to anything, and systems operated on anonymous data. So we want to make sure that you specifically, your data is safe and secure, and you're the person that has access to it. Perfect. And so other companies, you hope that they do the same, because as you start seeing these platforms, for example, some of the stuff Apple talked about yesterday, that's a whole profile on you. And so making sure that data is with companies that you trust, especially when it's pulling it all together.
Exactly. It's like everything together, and now everyone is using that data. So like this is a real concern there.
Right.
Yes.
Anonymizing is huge in order to be able to do things with AI and ML, and also make sure that that data is secure, and you just hope everyone's doing it the way they're supposed to.
The way they're supposed to do. Okay, so let's go back to Echelon. I know there are different companies in the fitness technology. I'm interested, first of all, in knowing how are you, there's competition, but how are you different from other companies out there? What is something that kind of pulls you apart?
So, some of it is our product design, being able to have a piece of equipment that works across all of our modalities, that can fit into any space, that can be for any type of athlete. We have some of the widest ranges of equipment on the market, both residential and commercial.
Okay.
And then secondarily, we're always creating new types of content. We have some of the highest counts of on-demand and live classes that's available to our users. And that's not just your traditional cycling class or your traditional run. That's also outdoor walks and outdoor runs. That's meditation, that's yoga, strength classes. We try to make sure that, no matter what kind of workout you want to do or what your body is capable of doing that day, we want to be able to recommend it to you.
Amazing. So I know that we have a video of one of the latest, I guess, equipment that you have. The Stride.
Yeah, the Stride. So this one's actually very cool. So it's got an integrated screen, but the way it folds down and collapses is something that's particularly nice for small spaces. Normally when people think of a treadmill, the first thing is, well, where are we going to put it? And this is something that can, go up, come down, really simply.
Okay, let's watch the video.
Hold up.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's funny talking to users, because some people have stored them underneath their beds, wherever they can go. But having something like that that's so well designed, really helps in those situations.
I love it. Okay, so talking about this equipment and kind of like setting yourself or like being different from other companies that exist out there. One emerging technology that's out there, of course, is like all these companies, I guess, and from working with you, is like you're always trying to improve the experience
Right.
of the user. And virtual reality or augmented reality can be a big, or can play a big role in
Right.
this specifically. So we know that AR and VR have gained traction in the fitness industry. We
Right.
know so many of the different applications of how AR and VR can be used. But if you can, at least maybe some people don't know how AR and VR are being used. If you can go over some of the examples and how that technology will enhance the workout experience and engage the users more. And in the same thing, if you can talk about how Echelon is approaching
Right.
AR and VR as well.
So AR and VR are very interesting for fitness in a couple different ways. And we can kind of talk about where we are now and where we think it's going to go.
Yeah.
So if you look at it now, what a lot of people say VR is, you have two different types. You would have what I personally call gaming, where it's a virtual set on the screen, not what I would traditionally call VR.
Okay.
But it's gamified. People like riding in these scenarios, racing with other people around the world. And then you start getting into the headsets, where you're looking at different companies that have developed workout routines that have accessories. You have a headset on, and you're immersed in this reality. Really, the two things that fitness is waiting for, in some regards, is the size of the devices currently, and then the portability of them. So, we want to be able to allow you to, take one of our lovely outdoor classes while you're on your bike with your wearable on, and either suggest a path for you. Also, you can see your stats at a glance, but also make sure you're safe.
Exactly. Well, safety is a big thing.
Right.
Watching yesterday WWC, I was like, for me, I'm gonna say I'm disappointed because I was expecting something different.
Right.
Especially when we're talking augmented reality, I was expecting a headset that's like lighter,
Right.
More safer. As
Yeah.
I said, like with that type of headset, I don't
Not-
see that
yeah.
being used outside.
Yeah, you've got a cord behind you.
Yes.
How can you move around with that?
Yeah.
A lot of questions yet to be seen. It'll be interesting to see what happens between now and next year, as far as the Vision Pro goes.
But then it can be used inside, and then
Yeah.
it can provide different experiences.
Right, and I think it'll be interesting to see how they continue to evolve the UI, and how the hand tracking and all of those issues get sorted out, because one of the big things for fitness is we like to use motion tracking and body tracking.
Of course, yeah.
So, we know what your form looks like, we know how much power you're exerting, we know how many reps you're doing, how many in the correct order, are you done? Have you paused? All of those things are, critical components of VR and AR, that, everyone wants to get right. We just have to get the form factors in order to be able to do it.
Amazing. So how is Echelon exploring these technologies, or as AR and VR? Or are you even? I know you're doing it, but
we're R&Ding especially. We've had some conversations about using some of your amazing facilities. Whether it's for immersive content, and testing how can we coach and also make this interactive and provide an experience that feels good in a virtual environment.
That's amazing.
And just also making sure that we can track all the things that we need to track.
That you need to track. Amazing. So another emerging technology, and now it's kind of like that thing that everyone talks about, is artificial intelligence and machine learning. And of course, AI and ML are going to be playing huge roles in this, because with all the data that you are collecting, you can see that actually the way I see it in my head is that not only it helps you, it collects the data and sees like how future workout can be based
Right.
on the number of hours of sleep you had, based on your
Right.
diet, based on your blood
Right.
pressure rate, your heartbeat rate, everything. So it helps you collect, it helps you predict or like actually suggests workout in the
Right.
future, and even maybe using all that data also in healthcare later
Right.
on. We can talk about that. But can you talk about how do AI-powered fitness apps provide personalized coaching and training programs?
Sure.
And how is that working?
So-
and what kind of benefits do they offer to the users?
So first of all, a tailored experience is always the best experience, the thing that's catered for you.
Yeah.
And so with AI and ML, we know, based on your progress, can we start recommending harder classes for you? Based on an injury, do we want to avoid certain classes? Are you trying to tone or are you trying to build strength?
Yeah.
What are those things that you're trying to accomplish and what are your goals? And so as we do that, we can pay attention to the data that we're collecting and notice that, maybe your upper body strength's not quite here in certain areas, so we can start building your upper back. Maybe you were struggling on endurance rides, the longer ones, so we want to recommend to you some classes that may be a little bit shorter, but are building your, what we call VO2 max, basically your oxygen engine of the body.
Okay.
What are classes that we can recommend to you that help you build that, so that when you want to, take these longer classes, get to these goals, do an Ironman, whatever it might be, we're recommending the right content to you. Kind of in the older days, like if you go on Google and you say train for a 5K, it's going to say you should run this many miles this day and this many miles this day, and you should try to have it within this time. For you, you can say, hey, you know what, I'm an endurance runner, and we can say 5K is not going to be a problem for distance for you.
Yeah.
You don't need to learn how to run 5K, but what we can do is increase your shorter threshold for output.
Yes.
And how fast do you want to do it?
You can finish that, yeah.
Right, so we can start tailoring classes that direction.
Amazing. Another way I can see it also happening with AI is that with collecting the different data such as hours of sleep, or like sometimes you maybe like also there are so many devices that can also monitor if you had a restless night.
Right.
And so maybe the next day also you're not going to suggest, your AI is not going to suggest kind of like a very intense like a workout. Maybe it's going to include more yoga and meditation.
Yeah, exactly. So if you say for example you did a long intense workout the day before, something kept you up at night, and you didn't get a lot of sleep, we want the next day, we want to help build your recovery. We don't want to push you further. So whether that maybe a yoga class, a light strength class, one of your favorite music genres that you really like, or particular artists, and this really fun 20-minute relaxing cycling class, or maybe we recommend a scenic ride because our data says that you've been stressed out, you didn't sleep well. Let's go ride on the beach for 25 minutes, cut on your favorite tunes, and just relax.
I love that. It's funny. I was given a presentation recently about AI and data science, the combination of both together. And as I was doing my research, I noticed how sports teams and organizations now, they are really trying to collect as much data as they can on their athletes, because it helps them understand how they are going to perform in future games and decide whether that athlete is going to play or not during that game. And it kind of like was like, I'm not gonna say I was surprised at the level of how much technology is being used in the decision making right now in everything we do.
Yeah. And it's as you begin to build the tools around you, looking at your diet, what did you eat today?
Exactly.
How many calories do you have to burn? Did you skip lunch and you normally work out at 5 o'clock? We probably, may want to do something different, whatever that might be. So yeah, the more data points that you have, to create this picture allows, whatever companies you choose for that portion, to work together, especially with something like HealthKit for Apple, to start recommending different, pieces of things that they're responsible for.
Amazing. So how do fitness technology and wearable contribute to the broader concept of overall wellness beyond just physical fitness?
So, we basically have a smart computer on our wrist at any
People
point in
don't
time.
understand.
And it's doing all sorts of wonderful things.
Yes.
Whether it's AFib detection, that's very important. But also how long you're walking your dogs for, or if you accidentally fall, you can contact someone for you.
It does.
It brings a lot of different ways, and it's just going to keep getting more powerful as we continue to go. The watch already tells you, hey, loud noises, you should dial that down a little bit.
Or stand up and start moving.
Yeah, exactly.
I have my watch always. It's like, okay, it's time to breathe. I'm like, how did you know I was stressed?
And some other products, Alexa just stopped with their Halo, or Amazon just stopped with their Halo, but the Halo would actually tell you how stressed out you are by how you're talking. And I fully anticipate that there will be other companies that fill that in too, because it's an important piece of data, and how you speak actually tells a lot about how stressed you are.
Of course. It's interesting you say that, because with my Alexa at home, I noticed that. I always thought that Alexa knows that at certain times of the day I need some kind of different music or so on. But I noticed also that it depends on the mood, I guess. And maybe it's based on the tone.
Yeah.
Is that there are some type of music, and sometimes I'm like, how did it know that it needs to play this type of music? No, it explains it.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about healthcare and preventive medicine, and how does or might fitness technology impact the future of healthcare and fitness, healthcare and preventive medicine?
So we kind of already see this in the auto industry.
Yes.
Plug in this little thing, it's going to track how you drive. You'll get a discount if you're safe.
Yeah.
Don't speed. Don't brake too hard. Those types of things. Same thing with fitness. As we continue to grab all of these data points, across the industry, not just one single app, they fit into this holistic view of you. And companies want to know how often are they working, and not even just insurance companies, but also your healthcare provider. How are they eating today? Did they work out? How long did they work out? What was their heart rate? What was their O2 rate? What was their blood pressure this morning? All of these things combine together to give a viewpoint that says, how healthy is this person?
Exactly.
And, humans are fickle creatures, so sometimes we don't want to admit that we ate that piece of cheesecake last night, whatever it might be, but, having an accurate viewpoint of that as well, that's realistic, helps in those decision-making processes. Because people forget things, people get busy, those types of things. And so you can look at it and you say, hey, you actually had a good month. And here's the data to back it up.
Interesting. Yeah. So part of that presentation that I was doing, I was also talking about how AI and data science together combined are used in the healthcare. So how they have access to patient records, and then from there, as they're collecting different patient records, they can predict a certain disease and then take preventive, have a whole personalized treatment or preventive approach for that, which also can be done here as well. Because now we're including fitness, so not only we're looking at just different patients, now we're looking at that patient specifically, how much workout they're doing, what, as you said, the diet, the kind of stress level that they have, and then that can help. If that kind of information is given to healthcare providers, doctors, then they can predict things like this, or the AI can kind of give them that clue, yes, there might be something happening in the future, so maybe you need to start preventing that.
Well, and it also makes things cheaper too, because if you think about it from a cardio standpoint, when was the last time your heart was stressed? A doctor can look and say, okay, during your last workout, you went this far. Your O2 sat was this, and your heart rate was this.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing they're going to do if they take you into a testing facility in a hospital and put you on a treadmill for 30 minutes and measure, those areas. Now, theirs gets a little more specific, highly more accurate, but you have a general overall view there.
It's funny because I agree with you. Like sometimes for someone to go and have that stress test on the treadmill at the hospital, it requires the person to be aware that
Right.
there is something happening.
Right.
But some people who don't have that condition,
Right.
they might not really recognize that. But for the doctor to have the information, they may see
Right.
like some kind of. I mean, I'm not a doctor here as
Right.
like doctor, medical doctor, but there are some
Right.
metrics that you look out for there.
Right.
What it can give you some kind of like a hint that there is something
The
maybe happening.
EKG on the Apple Watch is
Yeah.
super impressive, and
Yeah.
then AFib detection, and then
Exactly.
as technology continues to evolve, I'm sure they're going to figure out ways to know other data points as well.
Amazing. Okay, so let's go back to Echelon Fitness. And
go
then let's talk about some of the innovative research projects or some of the collaborations that you currently have happening at Echelon.
Yeah, so I think probably the two biggest things that we're working on right now, we have a new strength machine coming out later this year. Very excited about it.
Yay.
Works both commercial and residential, and it's falls right in line with what we try to do. We try to make fitness accessible to anyone. And we want to make sure that we're giving you the correct workouts. You don't have to think about them. We're going to show you how to do them. Those types of things are marks that we always try to hit. We have an excellent partnership with Samsung that's going on right now. We're actually CES. In
2022?
22, and
what are you talking about? This year?
No,
2023 or
it was
2022?
last
Yeah,
year. We were still working through it, and we were in their little area, and Echelon Bike, Tizen TV with our
know.
Tizen app on it.
And actually, you were featuring
Yeah.
one of the students' projects, one of our full sales student project there back then.
Yeah.
Like, because I was at CES and I was like, it was a proud moment for us
Yeah.
full sale people, like to see that
Yeah.
the students' project were featured.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like at CES.
They're doing great work.
Thank you. So, if we go back to the partnership between Full Sail and Echelon, I want to know more about the technologies that is being used or the technologies used in the product development. If we can talk about that, and
Sure.
how is it related to the development of mounted tablet equipment and mobile applications?
Sure. So mobile apps, like every other company out there, or iOS and Android, our mounted tablets and the Reflect are actually Android behind the scenes as well.
Oh, okay.
So we have custom firmware on them that locks it just to our application, and so it's still Android development through and through, but it has its own challenges. You're working on hardware and resolution that isn't out in the wild. There's not an Android Studio device for that out the gate. So having the lab here, for example, so a student can go in and actually plug in and test on it. Is great. And so on top of that, we develop our own firmware, so actual hardware firmware that pairs with it, but we spend most of our time working in Swift and working in Kotlin.
Okay.
And we really believe in being at the forefront of the technologies that are available. So we're doing a whole lot with Compose right now. We've done a whole lot with Swift UI already. We're obviously using Kotlin as well. So we're staying at the front of it.
Amazing. So, how does this collaboration contribute to Echelon's goal of driving smart innovation, creating amazing content, and fostering a supportive fitness community?
Yeah, so we're constantly working on making our equipment more accessible.
Okay.
So with Reflect, for example, we really wanted to overhaul the way that our residential users and our commercial users interacted with that equipment. We want to make sure that their first impression was great. And so we spent a lot of time designing that, and the Full Sail students brought it to life. And the interesting thing about Reflect, for example, is you have to consider the fact that it's on a wall, it's not mobile. And so it's also in commercial facilities. And so we have whole different requirements for ADA, where, to make sure that anyone can access it and, contrast and all those things are correct. And so they got to dive into the things that, companies building real products that go out into the world have to think about.
Amazing. Okay. So for me, I know that we're getting, and I see lots of questions on the screen from our audience, but I want to ask this: what advice do you have for students who want to get into this field, the field of fitness technology, and if you can talk about the background of developers that you're looking for.
So the first thing I look for is someone who is fundamental in the computer science realm.
Okay.
You're a computer scientist first. You know your algorithms, you know your data structures. Those are the core foundations for anything, because technology changes all the time. Just in mobile alone, we've had 2 languages on iOS, we've had 2 languages on Android. That doesn't include all the other ones that tried to do both in the middle there. So if you have the fundamentals, you can do what you want to do, and then if, whether by choice or not, you can do anything. And focusing on those fundamentals is the most important thing that you can do.
I love your advice, because yes, actually, CES, computer science is kind of the base, for everything. So we use software in everything we do on it, in our daily life. So being a computer scientist or a software developer or software engineer is really what you need to have that foundation, and then you can switch to whatever field. You don't need to have any kind of extra skills to be in the fitness technology.
It's different syntax and some different things that you're using, but once you know the foundations, you're good to go.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to take some questions from the audience. Okay, so the first question is from, I guess, a student. I love the touch mirror screen. So I guess the Reflect. Would you be able to go over that more?
Sure. So the Reflect is interesting. It's an interesting product to design and work on because it's reflective, given the name. But so colors, in order to achieve contrast, have to be different. The content is shot different, and we want to create the effect that you have an instructor, you have your stats, and then you're able to see yourself and make sure that you're mimicking it. So it's a very interesting product to work on because it represents certain challenges that you don't find building a normal app. If you thought about it, how would your phone be if it was reflective? It would be quite a different experience.
It will be a quite different experience. Do you use any sensors to just make sure that that movement is done correctly, or
There are things that we can do in residential. Commercials a little bit more tricky because you don't want a camera in a gym, or a lot of Reflects a lot of times are in hotel rooms, so people can work out in their hotels.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
And so we don't have any visual camera equipment in those, but for residential, motion tracking is something that we're edging towards all the time.
Sounds good. Okay, next question. Austin, how did you find yourself in this role, and what career advice would you give?
My biggest advice is a network. Be sound in your fundamentals, but networking is really what can take you forward. So, for example, in Orlando, we have Orlando Devs. It's a nonprofit group that operates a bunch of meetups. We have a Slack channel. And there are people in there all the time, helping coach people. So ask questions, don't be afraid. Go to meetups, talk to people. That's the easiest.
Actually, we're hosting them here. Yeah. We started last month, hosting their monthly events here on campus.
And, going to those things, meeting people. Oftentimes you're meeting people that, are going to potentially hire you. One of the engineers that I met at a meetup, he kept working on his skills, presenting. Worked for me for a while, and then went to Wayfair
Okay.
and then he went to Twitter.
Oh, interesting.
And so,
Okay.
working his way up from just going to meetups and, trying to teach myself, but getting your foot in the door is the hardest thing, and the easiest way to do that is networking.
Networking. I agree with you. It's how we do it. Like
Yeah.
this is how you get job in our field. I feel at this point it's like
Yeah.
you need to know.
build trust.
Exactly. You build trust. People
Right.
need to know your skills, need to understand what you can do, and
Right.
then they can recommend you
Yep.
like to other people. Amazing. Okay, so the next question is: I developed MS, multiple sclerosis, and I am curious about MS-related workouts. What technology could or is being used by Echelon to customize and adapt to people with physical disabilities?
Yeah, so we're working through, as is everyone, well, hopefully not, but we are, working
Yeah.
through AI and ML engines to where we can take, both know measurements of how much you can do, what directions you can do.
Yeah.
Particularly with the strength machine as well. What is your range of motion? That way we can build things that are more tailored to that. And then we're also doing, content as well that go across a wide different, net of whether it's, trying to build back strength in certain areas. We have, for example, like neonatal yoga, those types of things. And so, between content that we can use in those scenarios, but also the workouts that, for example, on the strength machine in particular, that we can recommend and build together, those are the types of things that based on your data points and machine learning and AI that, we want to be able to use.
That's great. So they mentioned the AI suggesting some relaxation techniques for restless nights. How would the AI know what your relaxation techniques are?
So there's a few different data points. So, first, we can ask you.
Exactly. I was going to say you train the AI.
Yeah, you have a starting point, which is you.
Yeah.
And so as we recommend different things, we start to learn what worked for you and what didn't work for you.
Yeah.
So, and especially if you're tracking all of your information as well. So, we can use HealthKit and other things to say, they didn't sleep well, we recommended this, they're still stressed, they were still stressed before they went to bed. Their heart rate was still high. Their blood pressure was still high. Let's
change it up.
Let's change it up a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
And we can also look at other people who are in the similar situation.
I was going to say that.
And see what worked for them.
I was just going to say that. I was going to say AI is really about training your AI. It starts with you. What is your preference? What are your preferences?
Right.
And then from there, it goes into now collecting information about you, but then also using whatever it does not work for you anymore from other people, and then trying to help that way. But as you said, it starts from you.
Yep.
So next question is, would the AI be able to tell if you're about to plateau and change it up for you?
Sure. Yeah. And again, that's based off of everyone else's anonymized data
Exactly.
too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who are other people in your similar age group at your fitness level, who plateaued, who didn't, what was different about the people who didn't versus the people who did.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Does it provide any, AI, does it provide any stretch routines or mental health procedures for people who are stressed?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have different classes and different pieces of content that we recommend that go across a wide range. And again, as you took this and we look at different metrics, we can, present you one way or the other. Maybe perhaps you do well with, resting and meditation and a guided meditation, maybe a relaxing, ride on the beach, maybe yoga, maybe Pilates, maybe, whatever you find suiting. For me, I don't do well with meditation, but I do well with a calming activity.
Oh, interesting.
And so
okay.
as it learns, it can start recommending those types of things.
I want to add, though, is that when I keep seeing these questions about AI. for AI to work, it needs to be part of
Right.
an app. It has to have all that information hosted together in there. You cannot just go for any whatever app out
Right.
there and you think that it's going to work for
Yeah,
you.
it needs data. It needs its own neural net. Like
Yeah, exactly.
It just because things like ChatGPT.
Exactly my point. I was going to say it's not because
it knows a lot about a lot of things, but in reality, it's just picking the next word for you.
Yeah. So you cannot just trust that.
Right.
Even with ChatGPT, I had that episode last month about that. It's not really. You need to train it. You need to go after it. You need to correct it. And here it's the same thing. You cannot just go to any AI app out there and you think that it's going to provide the best workout for you or best suggestions for you. I would rather go with a fitness company, and I'm not doing anything for Echelon here, like marketing whatsoever. It's not what I'm doing. Is I'm trying to explain that with that company that have a whole department behind it that they're really taking into account different data that they're collecting. Fitness. Also, I guess you're working with health experts and fitness experts as well to suggest something. You cannot it's not just so there are experts behind them, industry experts behind them that will suggest what type of workout or what type of meditation needs to be taken. So from there, the AI learns from that and then starts suggesting other things based on also what happened with other users. But again, don't go to just something that's out there that may provide something.
Actually, I used an example recently of a image generator, and it can only understand the things that it's been trained on.
Exactly. Well, that's an AI.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you ask it to place an object it doesn't know about into something, there's you could get a lot of wild different answers. Yeah. So I tossed one out for a Memorial Day promo recently. I was like, let's see what kind of Memorial Day copy it can do, and there was an American flag across a piece of grass and a sky, and that was it. And I was like, okay.
That says a lot. Okay, last question. How do you see fitness and tech industries evolving?
Oh, I mean, I think Apple started to show it yesterday a little bit.
Okay.
We are going to get into a world where we start blending virtual and real world. I think Apple is going to try to solve some problems from an interface standpoint. I honestly think Google probably hit the form factor years ago with Google Glass. It's just making it usable for all day. And from a fitness standpoint, as these devices get smarter, smaller, lighter, and work together more, we're trying to build the best picture that we can of you. And the good thing is there are a lot of companies that are focused on their individual portion of it. So whether it's companies that are really trying to make sure that they can recommend the best diet based on your workout, we're trying to make sure we get as many metrics from your workout as possible to put that into whatever platform you're using so that can be recommended. And eventually, I imagine, we'll probably start going down multiple routes too in that realm, but, we'll have to see when we get there. But I really think we'll start blending the digital world and the physical world. So
I love it. I want to go back to the question about MS, and I wanted to say that I really appreciate the person who asked that question, because it opens the door to other people to feel comfortable asking that question and getting answers. I mean, here we're really. I mean, we're tech experts, but we can provide. Some kind of suggestions or things to do, and then probably at Echelon, they also have you guys are working specifically on something like this. But
and also it's important wherever you go, be an advocate.
Exactly,
because we for example at Echelon we have a very good habit of making sure that all of our colors are accessible.
Inclusivity,
our font sizes work. and other companies aren't as great at that as other people are. So be a champion wherever you go.
I agree with that. So thank you for, again, the student or the person who asked that question. I really appreciate you asking that question. Well, it's 4 p.m. Thank you so much, Austin.
No worries.
I really, really liked this episode today. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode today about fitness technology. My name is Dr. Haifa Maamar, and this is Tech Tuesday. See you next month.